new year, well, almost at least, but certainly a brand new season. Once more, we see the return of Friday Night Primetime here on RaceSpotTV, and today we see exactly what a brand new car on the iRacing service can do. The Dallara IR01 makes its debut here on December the 18th, and what better way to test out its abilities than at the Suzuka International Racing Course. Hello one and all, and welcome to the Dallara Formula IR Series. My name is Nolan Renfell, with Connor and Maddox sitting beside me in the commentary box and also behind the cameras for today's race. 34 laps, Connery, is what these brand new machines full of V10 engines and 900 brake horsepower are getting set for here today. And with one mandatory pit stop involved in today's race, as well as multiple tire compounds, we're truly going to see just what these cars are made of.
Yep, it's absolutely fantastic for me to be back into the Friday Night Primetime commentary booth instead of in the production gallery. I haven't done this in quite a long time, but it's absolutely fantastic to see this new car on the iRacing service, the Dallara IR01. And of course, there's a lot of hype behind this one, Nolan, because this car is pipped to be sort of the next World Championship car in late 2021 is when iRacing are toying with the prospect of bringing this car to World Championship competition. And this is what a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people have been waiting for this for such a long time. I mean, this is certainly unlike anything that iRacing's ever done before. I mean, this is really the first pure fictional car that iRacing have ever made. I mean, but then you think about it as well, is it entirely fictional? Because Dallara, well, they got them to build the dang thing in real life just so they could scan it into the service. So that shows you just how dedicated they were on getting the IR01 here onto the center stage today.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you know, it seems to me at least they had their options limited when it came to cars to scan during, of course, the current world situation. So why not put that time to good use in bringing a car that, that has all the elements of what a lot of people want, and a lot of people are kind of nostalgic about the absolute scream of that V10, just a ton of downforce, and they've also designed the car so that it could follow other cars in front of it very, very easily as well due to its reliance on the ground effect. So it's basically, what they're trying to do is design the ideal open wheel car, and this is what we have at the moment.
Don't forget, we have a lot of big hitters that are very interested in these cars as well. Drivers like Alexei Yakula are here today running the Dallara IR01 in their opening outings for, the new season. You got other drivers like Manuel Domingo that are also trying to make a run at it. Even IndyCar drivers that are really big in the IndyCar community, such as Matthew Crisp, are taking a run at this new machine here today as well. So this really has caught the eyes of just about everyone. I was out trying to take the car for a couple laps earlier, and my goodness, it is a hard thing to control. Certainly, not one that is very easy to coax under you for sure. Don't forget as well, the new tire compounds are definitely going to be a huge factor in today's race as well. You can see one of the machines out here qualifying on the soft compound with the red ringed tires. Should note though, there is one driver out of the entire field that has decided, I'm going to go for the hard tires. That is Manuel Domingo, who's just finished his qualifying run. He's currently sitting 16th. He qualified on the hard compound, and he's the only driver to do so.
Yep, it's worth letting everyone know that, it's very similar to F1 rules in qualifying. You have to start on the same compound as you set your fastest lap in qualifying. But of course, iRacing have yet to implement using the exact same tire set. So it's going to be a fresh set of whatever compound you use here in qualifying. That's what you'll start the race with. Chris Owen heading his way through the Casio Triangle for one of his final laps here in qualifying. It looks like he's going to abandon that one, so he will remain in P7, do a little bit of a burnout coming across the start-finish line, but 7th will be where he starts, unless one of these drivers with a last-ditch effort here in qualifying can get themselves up the timing order. Here's Xavier Ross heading his way through the final corner, and across the line he goes for that number 7. He just about gets his lap time in, Nolan. It goes 12th.
12th place indeed, and with this in mind, we are set to take a look now at the starting grid as they start to line up just before 1:30R. It is Patrick Holzman on the pole position for today's opening race. Alexei Yakula, the former World Championship Grand Prix Series driver, started in 2nd place. Danny Elgarbe is down there in the 3rd position. Mamo Kubo Torres in 4th. Matteo Graziano is in the 5th position. Victor Prado, another World Championship driver, in the 6th position. Chris Aoun in 7th. Matteo Calistani in 8th. Rounded up the top 10, Connery, is Tom Walstra and Dennis Branch.
Yeah, and you see Luis Tarifa in P11, Xavi Ross with that last-ditch effort in qualifying goes P12, James Pinsker P13, Danilo Fipio in P14, Christian Oratola P15, and Javier Soto in P16. Manuel Domingo P17, Cedric Bill in P18, Hayata Asaga P19, and Matthew Crisp rounds out the top 20.
And in 21st is, of course, going to be Frank Levick the fourth. Anthony Catt in the 22nd position ended the 22 machine. What kind of coincidence is that? And then, of course, Aurelian Gimilowitz is rounded out the field about 1.4 seconds off of the rest of the field, 1.6 actually, off of the 22nd position. So he has got quite a bit of work just ahead of him. So that's definitely going to be a bit of a challenge for him, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of a challenge for all these drivers, in fact, because I've seen a couple of top splits of this already in my preparation for this broadcast, and sometimes lap one can be a bit chaotic. It is a new car, and it is a very tricky car to drive as well. It really takes no prisoners. Of course, yesterday there was a patch to make things a little bit more stable, but it's definitely a beast. You have 900 horsepower, no driver assist, no ABS, no traction control at all, so they are a handful, and it takes a very, very good driver to even keep it on the gray stuff, let alone go quickly.
Now, going fast over a short run is one thing. Going fast over a long run is quite another. All the drivers started on the soft compounds, save for Manuel Domingo, who is going to be starting on the hards all the way back in the 17th position. So Domingo's strategy will no doubt be one to watch for as well. We could potentially see him stretching his stint out long, while everybody else, we are expected to be pitting maybe at about just the 12th or even the 13th lap here on the racing surface. Pace car now just leading up to the Casio Triangle, the final chicane here at the Suzuka International Racing Circuit. Patrick Holzman sits on pole. He is going to lead the field around these final corners. Through the last curve now, the pace car pulls off. Are you ready? Hold on to your hats. Here we go. A new season of Friday Night Prime is underway. Holzman's on the lap pedal. We're off and away in green at Suzuka. Already the field fanned out wide across the entire track. Sideways on turn one. One car already been punted off. That's Matteo Graziano that's sent wide. He somehow recovers the car as they dive it off through turn number one. One more car is off way in the background. He's stopped on the side of the racetrack. Goodness gracious me. What an enormous... I'm surprised they all managed to get through there clean. They do appear to have one driver already in pit road, and that's Pinsker with a lot of damage.
Yeah, James Pinsker had a major problem on this race start as we get 34 laps of racing underway. Here's the onboard with the 6 down in towards turn 1. It's just wheel-to-wheel contact with the car on his outside. That's not what spelled the end to James Pinsker. It was contact from behind that sent him into the tyre barrier. We'll just have to wind things back just a little bit more to try and see if we can get a better view. Was it a car rejoining? Oh, it was a car on the outside that just cut down just a little bit and sent Pinsker right into the wall.
Not at all the way that Pinsker wanted to start his season off. He is going to be facing a very unfortunate end here, not even completing the opening lap. One more driver getting turned around. Sanfilippo in the number 12 machine has had a spin down at the tail end of the racetrack at the spoon curve. He is right now trying to get his car back rolling again. He's stuck in the sand, it would appear. He's just now getting it rolling. This was a self-spin, all on his lonesome, just barely clipped the AstroTurf on the outside of the racetrack, and that is all enough to send you around.
Yeah, sometimes if you explore the track limits a little bit too much in this car, it will punish you, and I think that's exactly what happened to the driver of the number 12 there as he gets himself back going. But I think the vast majority of your front runners have been relatively okay. Oh no, Alexei Usiakala, he spun it coming through the first sector. Thankfully, no one else seems to be collected in this, but that is one of your front runners that's had a big self-spin coming through the first sector. Let's take another look.
That was the car just getting on the power too early, and how in the world did everyone miss him is my question. Yakula, he just experienced what happens when you put 900 horsepower to the floor with no rear traction control, all in the rear axle. There you see, just on the lap pedal and spins it around. How did Elgabe miss him in the third position car and the number 3? That was some sensational driving there from Danny Elgabe in order to avoid this. Let's take a ride on board with him.
Yeah, let's have a look at Elgabai. Everything will happen ahead of him. You see Usilaka just dump it on the exit of the turn 2. Elgabai actually went very wide, so he didn't have a great turn 2 either, and that is impressive avoiding action being taken by the Spaniard there. as he heads his way through the S's section. And, well, great heads-up driving for the number 3, and I think that's very beneficial in a series like this, where it's a very big struggle to try and keep hold of the cars.
It could have ended very, very badly, so thank goodness he was very much aware and alert of what was going on around him. A lot of fierce battling going on elsewhere in the field as we watch El Gabai cross the line to take what is going to be lap number 3 here now. Behind him, you got a battle for about the 4th and 5th position. Victor Prado is right now having a scrap at Manuel Cubo Torres, trying to have it going. And this is now for the final position on the podium here.
Yeah, it is, and you can see the lap time that, well, the gap between Holtzman and El Gabai is absolutely incredible right now. He's pulled out 4.3 seconds here on this race start, so Holtzman using that, well, of course he was previously, and still is, I believe, inside of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, of course, has done a lot of nice work in that series. But it seems like he's pretty handy here in these high-powered open wheelers as well. Just dominance at the moment here in these opening couple of laps. This is a battle a little bit further back in the pack. This is between the orange and the red car here. Soto and Manuel Domingo having a little bit of a scrap here. And the important point here is that Domingo, that number 2 car, currently in 12th place in the bright red with the Race Spot logo on. You know that gives you 0.2 of a second a lap. That is a scientific certainty. But what I wanted to say is he qualified on the hard tires, and he now starts on the hard tires. So he's going to really extend out this first stint compared to the rest of the drivers.
Considering he's on the hard tires, it's actually impressive. He's already climbed 5 spots where he started today's race. Now, granted, 2 of those were because they did crash out early, but that means he's technically climbed 3 up to speed cars where he started today. That is very impressive for a driver starting on the hard tire compound. They're getting so close, though, in the braking zone for the Casio Triangle. Now, down the front straightaway once again. Of course, no DRS on these machines, as you might see in other open wheel machinery like the McLaren MP430. And they go trying to close it down with the draft, looking to the inside. So is Soto trying to have a go with Dennis Branch. He's having to look at it. Branch sideways, runs off the track and into the grass on the exit of turn 1.
Again, turn 1, turn 2 is so tricky in these cars. You come into the corner at such a rate of knots. You're always trail braking in, trying to get the car slowed down. And well, in that instance, the car stepped out just a little bit too much. We will have another look at this one. See Dennis Branch all fine on the way down in towards turn 1. It was just a bit of a moment coming towards turn 2 that, or rather the exit of turn 1, out onto the curb, I think. Just got onto that painted area a little bit too much. Car slid out. Good to keep hold of that one, though, with the tendency of these cars to swap ends, but he does lose those positions.
Some lost positions, though, is always better than having a big boatload of lost positions with a spun car along with shot tires. I'm pretty sure he will take that. Veal trying to have a go at Domingo as we take a look up to the battle for 7th position. This is Tom Walstra and Louis Tarifa that are both having to go at it down into 130R. That's a place on the track that is definitely one of the most feared corners in motorsports because it is almost impossible to go side by side through there. We've seen it, though. It is possible to do so. It's very risky, but certainly possible nonetheless. And I have a feeling that Luis Tarifa, you might want to see if he can maybe have a run at him.
Yeah, he's within, well, getting towards half a second. The draft is actually pretty powerful in these cars, it has to be said. So, you know, that's why you see some of these cars keeping themselves in their trains. There's no DRS in these cars for the DRS trains to be initiated, but it just seems like there's a couple of draft trains going on at the moment. But what is certainly not a draft train is the man at the front of the field right now. He's got 6 seconds, Nolan, in 5 laps over Danny El Gabai. That is absolutely impressive from Patrick Holtzman. Of course, changed teams recently, didn't he, towards Team Redline. So maybe setting himself up for a run with them, maybe in the new World Championship that's coming late 2021. But we'll just have to wait and see. A lot can change between now and then.
Certainly a lot can change between now and then. In fact, a lot can change even from now towards the end of the race, which is about just 29 laps off at this point in time. You know, Patrick Holtzman, like you said, he's been doing a really good job to get himself settled in the lead. But take a look at El Gabai, and he's actually been losing a bit of time significantly, actually, in the last few laps. He's lost at least half a second on the last 3 laps alone. So Danny El Gabai is actually starting to close in the gap little by little here.
Just see, you know, still around 6 seconds, so it's a very big gap to try and surmount. There's a battle for P3, though. This is between Manuel Torres and Victor Prado here. There's the 2 Iberians will look to try and do battle perhaps in a couple of moments if Prado can get himself in a good position to try and have an opportunity and have a go here. You can see how closely they can follow through turn 1 and 2, and you can see again they don't lose too much time in the dirty air coming through the exit section. That's why there's a lot of optimism about these cars, in that they don't rely too much on the wings to generate the downforce. All that air going underneath the car with the ground effect is generating all the downforce, which means they can follow a little bit closer. Of course, the dirty air still exists, but it isn't as exacerbated as it is in something like Formula 1.
And you saw the dirty air indeed playing a bit of a factor in that bit of an SS section there in the first sector of the racetrack, as Prado did lose a couple tenths of time, but both cars run wide of the hairpin. And what has happened here to Chris Ione? Chris Ione in the 19 machine has had a massive problem here. He's lost the rear wing. The car's crowding all over the place. He definitely made contact with the barrier, and I have to say, I don't understand what would have happened to him regardless. Take a look back now at the replay here. Take a look at what happened here to that number 19 machine.
Exit of Degner number 2, and yeah, just getting up over the exit curb just a little bit too much. These cars really don't like it when they have any sort of disturbance, like going up over the curb like that, and Chris Owen has found that out the hard way, and believe me, I've done a race here in these cars as well, and I did the exact same thing as Chris has done here. So coming into Degner 2, curb, trying to get the power down, and that's 900 horsepower worth of wheel spin on the curb, and that is a heavily damaged IR01 that he's going to have to try and limp back. He has been able to get it back to the pits, but he's down in 21st now.
He did actually pull it off to the side just after the hairpin as well, and even towed it, as a matter of fact. So that just shows you the car was a bit too damaged, it would seem, to make it all the way to the end. So early night for him. Definitely a big shame for him. You definitely don't want to see a driver's day end quite so early. It's just such a massive shame it has to end in such a manner. P3 is still looking nice and feisty, though. Manuel Torres still trying to hang on against Victor Prado, just behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. So Prado is still within about half a second. Actually, he dropped a lot of time there coming off the hairpin. So Prado perhaps struggling to get the power down a little bit, coming through the slow speed corners. And, you know, that has been a problem that people have been finding in these cars. And it's one, I think, by design, because these cars do not have traction control. So you're trying to put 900 horsepower worth of power down into the ground when you try and bash the throttle out of a slow speed corner. Of course you're going to wheel spin. So that's one of the tricks at learning this car, is learning to tame the amount of power that's really at your, well, I was going to say at your fingertips, so it's more like at your foot.
But I mean, I was even talking about this with you before the broadcast there, Connery. I mean, I actually tried to get into this car a little while ago and try to get a couple laps on myself, see what it was going to be like. I thought it was going to be something like maybe the McLaren MB430 or even the Williams FW31. Try a wingless sprint car, but with a crap ton of downforce and on a road course. And that's basically what you get here in the IR01. It is really fun, but boy, does it take a lot of practice to get the hang of. And these drivers clearly haven't practiced to show that they've been able to sling these cars around about 3 times faster than I've been able to ever do. I'll tell you what, these guys are doing a fantastic job right now to keep these machines under control. Not easy to tame the beast.
Not easy. There's an example. There is an example there, Nolan. Just as you were talking about it, Prado struggles with the exit of the second Degner, and he is yet another casualty in this race. Looking so good as well, but again, there's still a big learning curve when it comes to this car.
He actually nearly got completely wiped out a second time just after this took place. So let's keep it right on board with Victor Prado. Watch this here as he is going to just loop it around once again on the exit curves. Body slams the Armco barrier. Watch here as he approaches the hairpin, though, and you're going to watch for a car that's going to come right behind him. There it is. Look at how close this gets. Pretty much almost sideswipes him.
Yeah, that was very close there, and could have claimed another victim. You can see Victor Prado pulling his car to the side of the circuit as the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th retirement so far this race. So we are down to 18 runners left in this event. That is a little bit better compared to some of the other splits that I've seen so far this week. So pretty good going here in the strength of the field. Of course, you can't reasonably expect everyone to get very quickly up to speed in a car as challenging as this, because that is just impractical. It's only been out for what, less than just a week at this point, and it's sort of gone through a change in terms of patch yesterday. So yeah, I think those mistakes are forgiven.
I mean, it's not an easy track to learn either. It's not an easy track to learn at all either, is it? I mean, the Suzuka is definitely known for being a fairly difficult track to master. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got tight corners. It's got medium speed corners. It's got high speed corners. It's got switchbacks, kinks, chicanes, what have you. In Barcelona, it is in a lot of ways a very good place to test a car out and see just how far you can push the limits of a machine to figure out this is what it's going to get me and this is how far I could go before I end up seeing myself right into the face of a tire barrier.
Very tricky indeed, but here's the IVS Auto just still running around almost on his own in 8th. You know, he's trying to gap the cars behind. Cedric Bile is there in the number 13, just about a second behind, but slowly but steadily edging his way in. Manuel Domingo is here, and that's the driver that we talked about at the very start, as you can go on board with him right now and see that he is running the hard tire. So everyone decided to qualify on the soft, so therefore everyone started on the soft, but Manuel Domingo on the hard tire instead here today, and that'll mean that he can basically go as far as he likes, at least in terms of the fuel, on this stint, and then maybe stick a fresh set of softs for the end of the race and charge through the field that way later on.
I think that's exactly what he's trying to, do. He's trying to see if he can maybe stretch this one out long, maybe play a more, I am not going to say maybe defensive game, but maybe he's trying to see if he can play a bit of a more conservative game early on, and then, like you said, push very, very hard right at the end of the race. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's very impressive that he's even running up in the 10th position right now. He's actually he actually is about the hard charger of the race, up 8 positions from where he started today. The only driver, check that, 7 positions where he started. The only 2 drivers that have really been higher than that are, of course, running 8th, 9th, and 13th right about now. So very impressive drive for Manuel Domingo to be on the hard tires and be so high up in the order, considering he only qualified 17th with them. I mean, I wonder what he's going to do with the soft tires when he gets onto those.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, especially on the lower fuel load as well. So exciting stuff potentially on the cards for Domingo a little bit later on in the race. Usually with the soft tires, at least pre-yesterday's patch, we will be expecting around about 12 or 13 laps on the stint here as far as soft tires go, and then depending on the weather conditions, they would either put a fresh set of mediums on for the rest of the race, or if it's a bit too hot, they will put the hards on for the rest of the race. But with this post-patch situation, well, it's everything's up in the air at the moment. Here comes Cedric Bile, then down the inside at turn 1 over Javier Soto, and it looks like Bile's been able to get that move complete. A pretty simple commitment down the inside of turn 1, and he's been able to get the position.
Had a very, very big run off of the final corner, so that was a very easy pass for Cedric Bile to be able to really make that position work on Javier Soto. Take another look at this one on the RaceSpot replay right now. Watch, there is Bile just behind. He's going to just absolutely run down Javier Soto and just breeze past him with the inside, and Soto forced to give it up in the braking zone, realized that Bile was not about to give it that position very easily. Should note as well, live timing is available at RaceSpot.tv/timing2 to catch up on all your favorite drivers during the race.
Yeah, indeed, as we have had the sort of top 10 battles really spread out, apart from this battle that just happened for P8 here. Everyone else is sort of running in their own spots right now, but that can definitely change, especially as we get closer and closer to the time the pit window opens for some of these soft, for these soft runners. And I was going to say some of these soft runners, but everyone but one car is a soft runner at the moment. So it's going to be very soon that we'll see cars start to think about coming towards pit lane. Although saying that, there was a change to, of course, the way this car drives and the car and the tire compounds as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the drivers can actually extend some of these soft stints due to the change to the tire compound, because it doesn't seem like after the patch you're putting as much heat into the tires. And from what iRacing have said, it's the heat that destroys these tires rather than the wear. So that's one thing to note.
Something to note indeed. And speaking of heat, the track temperature is at about 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely not the hottest track in the world, but it is far from the coldest one either. It's kind of sitting right in middle territory right now. So we'll have to wait and see what that's going to do to some of the soft tire runners as they get further into their stints. We're currently watching Tom Walstra in that number 8 machine. He's diving through 200R right now. Behind him is Alexei Yakola, who, if you'll remember, he had his own struggles earlier in the race. Yakola spun out of the second position, out of turn number 1, and he's just been on the recovery drive ever since. He's fought his way back up to 6th, and right now, he's seeing if he can try to clinch the top 5.
Yeah, this is a good recovery drive so far from Alexei Yakola. Of course, was a pretty big driver, or a featured driver inside of the old iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series when we used to use for the early portions, the Williams FW31, and then we used the McLaren MP430 for a good couple of years before, of course, everything transitioned over into the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. But no matter if it's an open wheel car or a tank top car, Yakola has been there. And he's been there competing to the best of his ability. But I think at heart, he is a true open wheel driver. And I'm certain that he's going to give it a massive shot when it comes to any potential world championship later on next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're hoping to see, Yakola maybe up there fighting for the top spots once again in the new Grand Prix series, if that should happen to come around. Battle further down in the order, actually. 12th and 13th place just swap hands down to turn number 1. Dennis Branch and Matthew Crisp were the two drivers that are still very close and still going at it with each other. This pass happened just down the front straightaway in the run down to turn number 1. It was much like what happened in that battle for, I believe it was about the 4th position. Except this one was a bit of a later dive bomb.
Big dive there from Matthew Crisp down the inside. Didn't really give Branch much of an option there, did he? He was either, give me this corner, otherwise we're going to have a bit of a crash. But let's have a look at it from a little bit of a different angle then. As you can see that Crisp gestures towards the inside, a little bit sketchy with the car coming off of pit lane, and Branch really didn't defend it. He really didn't commit to that inside line, so I guess he just realized that Crisp has a lot of pace at this stage in the race and just let him go, and didn't want to lose time by fighting side by side.
I mean, sometimes that is what it's worth doing, because every corner you're side by side with, you are losing a significant amount of time. So sometimes you just have to realize when it's maybe a better idea to just maybe give up, let them have the position. You can always see if you can maybe come and get them back later on. Take a look back up to the battle for 5th now. Yakola has reeled in the gap to Wallstra. Seems like he's about to go on the hunt.
Yeah, so Yakola is coming back, and that's a pretty scary prospect if you're one of these drivers ahead. He did a 129.9 that last time around, and that was faster than the 3 cars ahead of him. So he's on leading pace at the moment. So he should be able to dispose of these next couple of drivers okay, although I'm seeing Crisp drop down the order quite a bit, and that is why he's had a little bit of an off-track excursion here coming through Sector 1. Let's see what has happened to the driver from Fiercely Forward.
Taking another look at the race spot replay. He had just gotten the position sorted 1 lap prior. Oh, there you have it. Oh, jeez. Big hit into the wall after once again taking just a little bit too much curve and sent him skating off into the infield.
The exit curb is stricken again, I think, so you'll get to see it again, putting power down on that curb. And it's just going to send you into the wall. And I think this is going to be a big, big learning experience for a lot of these drivers. You simply have to be 100% sure that there's only tarmac beneath your wheels if you're going to go anywhere near that accelerator pedal. And Matthew Crisp, of course, the margins are so fine here. Even if you go slightly wide, dip those 2 tires into the curb or into the paint, like sort of behind the curb. And actually, Crisp has just completely towed that back to pit lane, which you can understand given the amount of damage. But I think we actually have one of our first scheduled stoppers here. And this is Javier Soto coming down in with 15 laps in the book. So the soft runners have been able to extend their stints just a little bit more than the previous patch.
Soto up on the jacks, obviously. We'll have to see if he's going to stick with the softs. No, he is switching over to the hard tires for the remainder of the race. So it looks like hards might just be the call for the remaining soft runners throughout the stretch of this race. Soto, I believe, is going to drop down to a 17th, 18th position here as he now exits the pits and gets off and away. Out on the track, P5 is still close. Yakola could actually have a dive here into the 130R if he's gutsy enough.
I mean, it's a possibility. He's got a whole load of slipstream here in towards 130R. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go for the move. And here comes Alexei Usiakla to the outside through the Casio triangle, and he's been able to gain the position. What a dominant move there from the driver of the number 4. They both missed the pit lane this time around, so at least one more lap on the softs here for those two drivers. But what a committed move there from Usiakla.
Definitely showing who's boss out there on the racetrack. Saw the gap open, and before Tom Wallstruck could close it, Alexei Usiakla definitely said, it was just like, you know what? That door is open, and I'll just kick that door open and hold it up with a battering ram. Make way, I'm coming through. And he definitely made that pass done in very fine order. So great pass there from Yakla. That's going to put him back up into the top 5.
Yeah, I just saw someone might have had a bit of problem. I'm not sure whether it is this driver that's currently having to fight, do a little bit of side-by-side action. This is Danilo Sanfilippo from Italy, fighting back in the pack here. And we have another visitor on towards pit lane. In fact, we have Aurelian Jimlewicz, who has decided to come down in to change out those soft tires. And what tires does he go onto? He goes onto the mediums. So 2 different drivers have come down towards pit lane so far, and both of them go for different options here for their second stint.
And you were just talking about how Sanfilippo was having troubles. Well, he's also on pit road. A bit sooner than you might have expected, because he found himself face first once again into a barrier. So it was definitely big struggles for Sanfilippo, and really his struggle started all the way back at 130R.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, it just caught the back end of it there. Very hard impact with the barrier. Let's just wind that back a little bit further. So we'll have to see what happens here coming through the first sector for the Italian. That's actually right on board with him to see exactly what happens. He's got the Apex Racing Academy car ahead here. Is it contact with them? Well, they both get kind of sketchy coming off of turn 2, but now coming through the S's section. Still on board with Sanfilippo, and a little bit too wide. And we've already seen what happens when you do that.
Yeah, that's once again just a case of just taking a bit too much of a wide exit. Matteo Calistani comes down to pit lane. Dennis Branch comes down as well. So 2 more visitors come down to the pit road as well. So Calistani just finished his pit stop a little while ago. He is already off and away. So it seems like it's not going to be a case where it's going to be everybody coming in all at once.
Ooh.
It looks like it's going to be more of a 1-by-1 type of deal.
Look at this, though, from Calistani. He's on soft tires, and you can do that. There's no requirement to use 2 different compounds in this series. You just have to do the tire change. It doesn't matter which tires you go onto. And Calistani has opted to go for soft tires and then soft tires again until the end of the race. And with the tire compound change, this is a lot more possible than it was before Thursday. So let's see how it works out, because we've had now 3 different drivers have 3 different decisions about what compound to take for this second half of the race.
Your race leader, Patrick Holzman, is also taking soft tires for his second stop. He's already off and away with more red wing sets on his machine. Second and third place are also both down to the lane. Looks like Elgame is also only taking softs. Manuel Torres is also down. He's also only taking softs.
All right, so it seems like the decision to make for a lot of the front runners is just to go on to softs again for the second stint of this race. So we could conjecture that this was possible a little bit earlier on due to the changes to the tires. So it looks like those softs are surviving a little bit better than they were pre-patch. So that's why you see a lot of drivers deciding to take those red-walled tires for this stint, and presumably all the way until the end now. You don't want to be on a 2-stop strategy in what is a very, very one-stop race. But right now we're still waiting for a couple of cars to head their way down in. Alexei Usiakla currently leads this race, but hasn't stopped just yet. Tom Rolstra, second place, has not stopped either. So it seems like you can really, really push these soft tires to go much, much further than you were when the cars were first introduced.
That might hurt Manuel Domingo, who might have been hoping that they would all take hards on the second stop, or at least mediums, then he could pounce on them all with the soft tires now that he had the spots gained up. Yakula comes down to pit road, but with all these guys, whoa, big lock from Yakula on the entry to pit road.
Yep, struggling to get down to that pit lane speed limit. He's also got Tom Wallstrup following him in here. So these are a couple of last remaining drivers to take their one and only scheduled service, at least we think, unless someone wants to surprise us with some interesting strategy. Oh, careful. Oh, Yusiaka's missed his pit stall. Oh, so from what was a dodgy pit entry becomes a dodgy pit box entry itself. And, well, that's not gone too well for Alexi, has it?
And that has put Tom Walstra right up onto his rear wing as we take a look at the replay from Jaakkola on the entry to pit lane. Oh my goodness, such a big lockup. He's lucky he didn't go into the wall, actually, when he ended up making contact there. So, goodness gracious, that could have been a lot worse for Jaakkola. We're going to watch here as he comes down to the pit stall. And was this a case of just basically the pit box, or did he lock it up again on the entry to the pit box himself?
Let's have a look. One of the first pit stalls. Oh, he just didn't get slowed down. Just locked up the tires, had to back up into the pit stall, and, well, it's going to be another second or so added to his pit stop time, as we will return to the live pictures and see how the order is right now. Alexi Yusiaka down in 6th place. So Kalistani in 5th place, just about six and a half seconds ahead of Yusiaka here. And the order hasn't been shuffled too much. You see Manuel Torres, 3rd place. Domingo continuing to make some progress here on those now old, hard tires. So he won't be stopping until really his fuel demands him that he stops.
This is really going to hurt Domingo, though, because he's going to lose so much time now on the old soft tires while everybody is on fresh soft tires.
Well, old hard tires.
Old hard tires, sorry. Yeah, old hard tires, while everybody else is on fresh soft tires. And meanwhile, he's not going to have the advantage they might have hoped with his own fresh soft tires, because nobody else is going to be on hards and mediums anymore. They're also on softs. So I think the advantage that he might have been trying to go for was just a gamble that didn't pay off.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't up to date with how the patch has gone for the tire compounds, but we'll just have to see his progress. Christian Oratola heading his way down towards pit lane now as well, as he'll get rid of those old softs and presumably go on to a new set of softs for the rest of this race. Went 19-20 laps on that set of softs, so going much longer than they were pre-patch. And Oratola, ooh, he must have sped on pit lane because he's been down here for a while. He's getting up to towards 20 seconds now. So I would say this is pit lane speeding for Christian Ortarola. 26 seconds on his stop now. And, well, if this goes any longer, it might be something worse than a pit lane speed penalty. But there we go, Ortarola out and away after a very lengthy stop.
Can confirm it was a speeding violation in the pit lane. He was about 10 miles an hour too fast on entry, and he got to slow down quick, but hey, if you're 10 miles an hour fast on entry, that's all it's going to take. Take a look at this. Watch his desperate attempt to slow it up in time, but not quite there. He was just a tiny bit too hot and got the good old penalty for speeding, section 1.
Yeah, not exactly ideal, of course. Again, I will reiterate that some drivers are still trying to learn the car, so despite these guys being incredibly high I rating, it's much higher than I could ever hope for, that's for certain. There's still a learning curve to this car, but with a couple of weeks under our belt, getting towards the middle of the season, we'll see a lot of those mistakes really start to iron out, and we can get some clean racing. Speaking of not clean racing, though, Javier Soto just completely aborting the Casio triangle there. Have to see what instigated this one.
I was wondering what happened there. I was watching that little battle on one of my other monitors here, and all of a sudden I looked up and Soto was nowhere to be found. So take a look here on board with Javier Soto, and we'll see what happened to that number 23 machine, the Iberian. Apparently just going in way too hot into the Casio triangle. Oh my goodness, yes, he was never going to be able to slow that one down for the corner, and that gives Hayata Asaga a very easy position there, which will put him up into the top 10.
Yep, so Asaga, there he is. Like you said, inside the top 10 now, so decent drive for the driver of the number 14 right now. And I gotta say, I gotta empathize with Javier Soto there, because I have been having some horrible trouble with the brakes in this car as well. It's very tricky to master, I should say. The fronts can lock up pretty easily, which is why a lot of drivers are running quite rearward brake bias at the moment to try and rectify that, but it is still is still not the greatest on the brakes. So we'll have to see if there are any changes as far as iRacing is concerned to try and help with the brakes a little bit. I know there's been a patch introducing some, I think it was some new master brake cylinder settings that you could change to try and counteract the sometimes weird braking performance of these cars, but I guess more fine-tuning is needed.
I mean, you got to remember as well, that is one of the hardest corners on the track as well. So when you combine the bad brakes, it really just is a combination for disaster. I mean, 130R is one of those corners where you just do not brake while you're turning, like, because that is just such a bad idea in that corner. They're flying through that turn at 200 miles an hour, which is over 300 kilometers an hour for those that use the metric system. And then you have to slow that down to just 60 miles an hour in the span of less than a second. So it is just so unbelievably difficult for, you know, people to be able to slow it down in time, even just a normal car, let alone one that just came out less than a week ago.
I gotta say though, it's funny saying if you use a metric system. I think most of our viewership uses the metric system due to how popular this car is undoubtedly going to be with non-Americans. Although Americans are going to be happy about it as well. We'll have to say, or North American, shall I say, because you're Canadian. But there we go, Manuel Domingo down on towards pit lane. That's one of the drivers we were waiting for to come down in because of them starting on the hard tire. So they pit on lap number 23, and for sure they're going to go on to the softs here, but I'm not sure if the strategy has really worked out for Manuel.
No, not at all. I don't think it has either. He's already down to the 7th position, so he is now into the pits, onto the soft tire as he goes, and going to get dropped off the jacks, and away he goes. About a 7-second pit stop, which is, I guess, pretty similar. That's actually very similar to what you might see in the IndyCar series with the Dallara IR18. He is now up and away all the way down in 8th. So still, should note, still is up in the top 10. So he is still doing a good job with that machine, but unfortunately just doesn't have the advantage that he might have hoped for.
I mean, I appreciate going for something a little different, but maybe that something a little different hasn't quite worked out in this situation. We'll have to see his progress, though, because what's his time behind Tarifa here? It's about on the order of about 7 seconds there, and with the 11-12 laps that we have to go, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but not outside the realms of possibilities. So we'll just have to keep his track of his progress there. I'm having a look to see if there's any other close battles out there on circuit. There are a little bit further down the order. Here's Jim Lewis and Christian Oratola within a couple of tenths of a second of each other here. And let's see how this works out between the two of them here, because I think Jim Lewis, if we go on board with him, he is on the medium tires right now. And if I'm not mistaken, Ottorola might just be on the softs if we cycle back to him. Yes, you can see the red sidewall here. So here's the difference in terms of the compounds of rubber in this particular battle.
These guys have Danny Elgabai just behind them as well. He's trying to get around these guys as well. So definitely blue flags will be waiting for the both of them. As Ottorola onto the grass big time. Nearly lost the car there. Probably wasn't paying the most attention as he got around to the straightaway, but manages to somehow keep the car going straight, which is, of course, definitely what you want to see. It would be a shame if we saw a battle end in that fashion, but he has lost a boatload of time as Danny Elgabai goes through.
Yeah, Elgabai, yeah, he was, of course, these guys were lap traffic compared to him, so blue flag's definitely in effect. And, well, of course, the blue flag rule here in iRacing is not mandatory, so you don't have to deviate from your line and get away, as you'll see Jim Lewis be able to let go that leading lap car as well. So this battle can re-establish itself somewhat. But like I said, the blue flags are not mandatory here in iRacing, according to the sporting code. So it's not like F1, where if you're shown 3 blue flags, you get a penalty. It's just a case of the blue flags are there just to warn you that faster cars are approaching, rather than tell you to get out of the way of them.
And Ottorola runs quite a bit wide to turn 1, costs him a little bit of time, but he is now right in the clutches again of Jim Lewis, and the way that Elgabai passed Jim Lewis is actually very crucial to this battle, because he passed with the inside of 130R. So Jim Lewis was not able to really get to the inside of 130R. He had to let off a lot to avoid running clean off the track and getting a slowdown penalty for exceeding the track limits, backing him right up into Ottorola. So that is very, very crucial here for that number 20 machine, as he's trying to see if he can crack the top 15.
I just want to do something that we don't usually do on RaceSpotTV Fan Immersion, and let's go. Well, I just spoiled it for you. Anyway, something that we don't usually do on RaceSpot Friday Night Prime Time, and that's RaceSpotTV Fan Immersion. Just listen in. And our little onboard moment is spoiled a little bit by that little bit of confusion coming in towards the Casio triangle. Let's take another look at this one, Nolan.
Oh my goodness me. I mean, I held my breath when I saw this. And again, once again, how neither car are out of this race is just shocking. But take a look at this one. This could go either way when it comes to playing the blame game. Oterola tried to have a look. It was a very late defensive move from Jim Lewis, and that's an Oterola off. And I'm going to be honest, I think Jim Lewis's block was a little opportunistic. It was definitely a move in the braking zone, and Oterola had absolutely no time to avoid this one. As we take a look from the air, watch how Sonny moves across the track. I mean, how are you expecting him to be able to slow down in time for that?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a late defensive move there from Jim Lewis. Not exactly kosher as far as I'm concerned. But in the end, both drivers are still in the event. It's just Oterola has to take that one on the chin and lose like 5 seconds.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to be very happy, though, Oterola. He's, I know I certainly wouldn't be happy. He might be a bit cross with Jim Lewis there, and I got to be honest, I probably wouldn't blame him.
These cars just sound so good, don't they?
Oh my gosh.
It sounds absolutely amazing.
Ah, the good old V10s. Can't beat them.
Yeah, even from the trackside cameras, the sound is just amazing. And you know, this is kind of what we've missed a little bit. Of course, you know, there's always the push for, you know, more fuel-efficient engines and less expensive, and well, I guess not really less expensive engines, but less emissions going from the engines. But it's this is a sound that you simply can't beat. But it's a necessary evil, sort of, not to have them in the real world, I should say. But we can have them in sim racing, and that's the good thing, because we can have them in sim racing. We're not doing any damage by having them in here, and you know, it just gives everyone a chance to really re-experience what these engines were all about.
Hey, plus side, we don't have to wait 2 weeks between races to hear them. You can go experience them any day you want. Just pop on into any race. Don't even have to race it. You can just spectate the darn thing. And you can listen to them to your heart's content. That's the great thing about this. And in my opinion, it's actually even better that we have them here, because now, well, I think I got myself a new soundtrack to fall asleep to.
Yeah. Well, the term I was looking for was more road-relevant engines that F1 have tried to go to over the recent years, because, you know, there's no consumer road cars, you know, that aren't supercars that run V10s at the moment. So you can understand that. But that's a whole different chat when it comes to the engine formula in Formula One. But yeah, these are absolutely amazing. Everyone's kind of spread themselves out a little bit at the moment. There aren't really any close battles within sort of 2.5 seconds at this point out there on circuit. So we're just going to take a moment just to enjoy what we have here, and perhaps talk a little bit more about this, because some people have been saying that you know, it's a big change for iRacing to go for and build a fictional car, you know, because this car does not exist in the real world. iRacing just went to Dallara and said, you know, just, can you build us a race car? And that's exactly what we've done. What they've done, and they've done a fantastic job so far, at least if you ask me. Of course, some people still have some small criticisms about the car, but thanks to this being a fictional car, well, no one can really say how it should be, right? Because it's no one drives these in real life, so no one knows exactly how they feel. You can guess how they would feel, considering, okay, it's a ground effect car, 900 horsepower V10, big slick tires. You know, you can get an idea of how they feel, but no one can tell you exactly what it should perform like.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the great things about it as well. I mean, some people are a bit, you know, kind of on the fence saying it's a fictional car, but I mean, hey, it's a V10 fictional car. That's good enough for me. I mean, you combine this and then, oh my goodness, can you imagine if somebody actually tried to put these on the iRacing Super Speedway? That would, oh boy. These cars are historically, well, not even historically, but it's already common knowledge. They are not meant for oval racing. that kind of wants me to want me to throw them on there just a little bit more.
Look, I don't even think you can say that because it's a fictional car. iRacing can do whatever they want with it. You know, they could create a super speedway package for this car. Who knows? You know, everything's on the table at the moment, and that's what's pretty exciting because, you know, why not throw these cars on ovals? Why not throw these cars on something like Indy or even a short oval like Phoenix? You know, let's see how it does. You know, the options are open. What was that?
IndyCar multi-class race, anybody?
These and the Indy cars, yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, you know, we could do it in a hosted session, but I doubt that'll be an official thing.
Oh, hey, you never know. Week 13's a thing.
Week 13 is indeed a thing. I'm just going to bring the engines down just a little bit more as we're on board here. But Alexei Usiakla continuing on his recovery drive, and over the last couple of moments we've been chit-chatting here. He's really gained a lot of time over Matteo Calistani, and is doing very good work here in the final couple of laps of this race to be able to close in that gap. You can see the lap gaps. He's gaining multiple tenths of a second a lap here, so I can't help but feel that Calistani's days is numbered as far as P4 is concerned.
Not to mention, Calistani is now catching lap traffic of Christian Odarola, who's also catching Jim Lewitz as well. So no doubt dirty air from the lap traffic just up the road is slowing Calistani down as well and backing him right up into Yakula, who's now just able to get a nice tow down these long straights as a result of this one. So I agree. Calistani, better count your chickens, sir, because it looks like your days of fourth place, like you said, are very much numbered.
Usiakla continuing to gain, and you can see that Calistani's having to deal with the lap traffic, and he's caught it at just the exact wrong place, coming through the apexes of the Castillo Triangle. So he's lost a tenth of a second due to that alone, and now Usiakla is going to have this slipstream all the way down in towards turn 1.
And Yakula didn't get well clear of Odarola before they reached turn 1, so, runs a bit wide on the exit of turn 1. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but still, he's right in the clutches of Calistani. So no doubt, that number 9 car, he started to really look in his rearview mirrors, and he might not like what he sees because Uzi Yakula, he is now all over the rear wing of that Dallara IR01.
Yeah, he really is getting closer and closer, and let's see some special Alexei Usiakla action. I'm going to use a term from another esport here that I've heard a lot. He's winding back the years, shall we say, because it's been a long time since we've seen him in action as far as the open wheels are concerned. At least a very quick open wheeler like this one. He's got a handful of laps to do this, so certainly inside the realms of possibility he'd be able to haul himself up into P4. And you did quite rightfully point out this battle a little bit earlier on. It was getting closer and closer and closer, and now they're on the verge of going wheel to wheel.
With closing by about 2 or 3 tenths a lap right now, and with 4 laps to go, I would definitely say he has the time that he needs to be able to really make this work. So Yakula only has to wait. Oh, hello! Jim Lewitz has completely abandoned the Castillo Triangle in more ways than one, so P15 is going to swap hands as well, and that's going to allow the battle for 4th place through as well.
Yeah, so that battle for 4th place still remains as it is on the way down towards turn 1, but let's get another look at what has happened here to Jim Lewitz. We'll get to see in just a couple of moments' time through 130R and in towards the Castillo Triangle. Let's see, because again, it might be a sketchy moment on the brakes again, which is a learning curve in this car as well. Oh, he just gets on the grass. That's a completely different issue there to what I thought it was. Just the grass grabbing the car and only sending him in one direction.
He didn't even manage to slow down in time for the second part of the Castillo Triangle either, so he had to fully abandon the curb. And no doubt Odarola is going to be very happy about taking that spot back after a bit of a questionable block earlier in the race. And that will allow this battle for P4 now to continue the rage on as Yakula still trying to hound the rearview mirrors of Matteo Calistani.
Yeah, he's continuing to give it a good go, isn't he? As we'll ride on board with him now. The Finnish driver of that number 4 car, of course, had that spin, had that problem within the first couple of laps of this event, and now he's going to look to challenge. Is he going to go down the inside here at the triangle? He's going to commit to it, trying to go wheel to wheel, and Kalastani holds strong. He didn't want to back out of that.
Oh my goodness. Kalastani, I think he's just made it very clear he's not giving this battle up without a very fierce fight. Jaakkola forced to reset and try again. Can you have a look into turn one? Maybe. Oh, just barely away from making that dive bomb into turn one. He was starting to have the smallest of looks, but just wasn't quite able to fully get there. He's going to have to maybe reset. I don't think he's going to be able to try again until we get back around to the Casio Triangle.
Yeah, the opportunities are kind of limited here. You can get that slipstream pass into turn one, and you can make something happen up into the Casio Triangle. If you're brave, you can go for the almighty send into the hairpin. That is also an option, but I haven't seen it happen quite yet here, and I doubt Jaakkola will go for a move as very daring as that. He does go deep on the brakes into the hairpin, but again, not close enough to be able to search for an opportunity coming through there, and he's running out of laps at this point as well. We're on lap number 33 now, as Holtzman has just crossed the line of 34. So, yeah, time is running out.
Coming up to 2 laps to go here for Alexius Jaakkola to be able to make this move work successfully. Matteo Kalastani once more going to be under fire as it's a big slipstream push from Jaakkola up through 130R down to the Casio Triangle again. He's not going to be close enough this time to have the look into the Casio Triangle. He might be able to get him into turn one here if he can get a good run out of the last corner, though.
Yeah, potentially trying to get the power down through that final corner. This car is a lot more planted through there than some other cars. The track does drop away from you and is somewhat off camber there as well, so it can be tricky in some cars to go 100% throttle all the way through that slight right turn of the final corner. But these cars not so much. Jaakkola, of course, there's still the dirty air effect in these cars. It hasn't been completely eliminated, so you can't follow very, very closely coming through the S's here. But you can keep yourself in contention and you don't lose 1.5 seconds like you would do in a F1 car.
Still nice and close. He is not going to be close enough for, like you said, that almighty send into the hairpin. He is going to have to wait back around for the 130R. He's got to try to use these slower moments, though, on the track where he can try to close up a little bit more, because when he gets to the faster portions like 200R and even the spoon curve, that's where it's all going to fall away from him. As Holtzman takes the white flag, we're round to the final circuit this time by.
Yeah, we are. It's been a fantastic drive for Patrick Holtzman. We haven't really had to talk about him, have we? It's been a very, very calm race for him. He qualified pole position, got away, and simply hasn't looked back. But we're going to look back to this battle right now because Jaakkola has another run here in towards the Casio Triangle on the second to last lap, looking for the inside, but Kalastani is covering off all of these moves at the moment. He's making the IR01 very wide indeed, and they take this fight onto the final lap.
The fight will go to the last lap. This one will very much be completely down to the wire. Down for turn number 1. Jaakkola still not close enough. Kalastani got a tiny bobble on the entry. Thought he might have lost it there, but he has managed to keep himself all well and sorted. This might be very, very close, though, into the final sectors.
Yeah, absolutely. So it might be a last lap lunge into the Casio Triangle for Jaakkola to be able to grab P4. We'll just check in on Patrick Holtzman because he's coming through to the final couple of corners here, Nolan.
Patrick Holtzman has been a dominating run for him. He's led pretty much every single lap from start to finish. The number 1 machine takes the pole and sweeps Suzuka. He wins the season opener in the Formula Dallara IR Series. Great run for him. Definitely the way he wanted to start off the season. For Alexius Jaakkola, though, it is still not over. He still has got a chance to see if he can run down Matteo Kalastani down the back straightaway for the final time today. Is he going to be able to have the look into 130R, or is he going to have to settle for 5th? It was a mistake himself that cost him earlier in the race. Now through 130R, he's going to have a look here down the Casio Triangle. There he goes, trying the inside. Kalastani gets scared wide out of the corner. Here comes Jaakkola trying to get the cutback on him now. Kalastani gets wide, so does Jaakkola getting loose. Both cars are going to manage to hang on to it. Jaakkola has to settle for 5th. Kalastani somehow hangs on for 4th.
That was incredible there, coming through the final couple of corners of the lap. The battle for P4 is won by Matteo Calastani after a big squabble into the Casio Triangle. We'll take another look at it, and we'll wind it back a little bit further than that, because what a fantastic battle between these two drivers. And when push came to shove, you could see that Calastani, does he defend? He doesn't even defend towards the inside here, but Usiakala just kind of backed out of it himself, tried to hedge his bets on Calastani outbraking himself into the Casio Triangle. He tried to search for the cutback there, did Usiakala, but simply wasn't available. Calastani was able to get the power down and get the line off the corner to be able to secure that 4th place. What a defensive drive from Matteo Calastani.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm going to be honest, Yakula probably could have been able to even get that spot done. The only reason why he lost that out was because he got the power down a bit too early and stepped the back end out just out of the Casio Triangle into the final curve. That's what lost him that there, because he definitely had the run. I think he faked the inside of the Casio Triangle, trying to hope that he could scare out Calastani into maybe cutting the chicane, but Calastani held firm and somehow managed to hold on to take the win. Just what an absolutely amazing drive for the Italian to be able to hang on to a spot like that against a driver who is so held in high such regard as a former World Championship Grand Prix Series driver.
Yeah, but Usiakala was always on the back foot in this race due to those problems early on. But, a very strong final half of the race to try and catch up to the Calastani, but Calastani was able to hold on. So fantastic stuff indeed. I gotta say though, we didn't talk about him much, and he's disconnected from the server at the moment, so I can't show his car on screen. But Patrick Holtzman leading from green flag to checkered flag, and we didn't really talk about him once. So it's a situation where if people aren't talking about you, you're probably doing a good job.
Well, especially if you're so far out in front. I mean, that's how you know you're doing a good job, is when you're so far in front that we almost forget to talk about you at all right up until the checker flag, because that means you've been running a very comfortable race, and there's been nobody to really challenge you, except for, of course, lap traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. We got our race results ready, Nolan.
That we do. Patrick Holtzman takes the victory once again. Danny Elgabai picks up the 2nd position after climbing a few spots in the race. Manuel Cubo Torres finishes it off in the 3rd position. It is going to be Matteo Calastani in 4th. Alexei Usiakala in the 5th position. Luis Tarifa in 6th. Manuel Domingo finishes it off in 7th. Tom Walstra in 8th. Cedric Bile in 9th. Hayata Asago rounds out the top 10.
P11 goes to Javier Soto, Frank Levick in P12, Dennis Branch P13, Anthony Catt P14, Christian Ottorola finishes in 15th place here today. Aurelium Jim Lewis in 16th, Xavi Ross in 17th, Danilo Sanfilippo in P18, Matthew Chris P19, and Victor Preto rounds out the top 20.
And finishing off some of the other field in the last 3 is Chris Aon, Matteo Graziano, and James Pinsker, drivers that did not finish the race. In fact, Pinsker didn't even really manage to complete the 1st lap. Neither did Matteo Graziano. So unfortunate for both of those drivers, finishing 33 laps down on the docket. Still another 34 is where we're going to be going next week when, hop across the opposite end of the supercontinent, if you will, to Silverstone, which arguably is one of the most historic racing circuits in the world, and it's famed for putting on races in high-speed open-wheel cars, such as these.
Yeah, absolutely. We can even pull up the schedule for you right now. So we've had this round done here at Suzuka for round number 1. Then we head to Silverstone next week, as you have quite rightfully mentioned. Then we head to the Nürburgring for round 3. Barcelona is round 4, and Phillip Island round 5. Then we head to Long Beach, which is one of the new tracks on the iRacing service. Then we head to Watkins Glen, then Road Atlanta, Monza for round number 9, Spa for round number 10, Road America for round number 11, and round 12 will be our finale at none other than Interlagos. What a finish to the season.
I'm honestly looking forward to Road America and Interlagos, the final 2 races, because those are both 2 tracks that have proven themselves time and time again that they are absolutely phenomenal at providing good racing, especially when it comes to open wheel cars. I mean, both of them have got long straights and hard braking zones. Interlagos is the very famous Senna S in the first sector. I believe that's turns 1, 2, and 3. That kind of complex is one of the more tricky complexes you can find on the servers, and very fun one at that.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly fun, but we've got a long way to go until we get to that final round of, Interlagos. You got Road America that you also mentioned as well. Road Atlanta also, a possibility in that situation, I believe. So yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. A season, and it's a jam-packed season full of the tracks that we love to see as far as high downforce open wheelers are concerned, because you've got most of the tracks on the Formula 1 calendar. You've just had Suzuka, we go to Silverstone, Nürburgring, Barcelona, and then, you can count Watkins Glen if you count historic F1 venues, I suppose. And then, of course, you've got Monza, Spa, and then Interlagos. It's jam-packed full of those absolutely brilliant tracks. I gotta say, though, Spa later on in the season, and Monza, of course, it's going to be jam-packed. I think the participation is going to be very, very high for those events.
Don't forget Long Beach as well. That's, of course, a very new track to the iRacing servers. Or I should say, it's not exactly new, but it's been newly finished for the iRacing servers. So that, I think, is also going to be a rather interesting race in of itself. Phillip Island is another track I honestly didn't quite expect to see on here. We don't see that track around all too often. The Phillip Island circuit, the one and only race where we head on down to Australia. So call that the Australian Grand Prix, if you will. But that should be a very interesting run as well.
Yeah, it really, really should be. So an absolutely fantastic calendar here in the Dallara Formula IR series. Of course, new for Season 1 2021. I can't wait to see the rest of the season. And, of course, unfortunately, I won't be commentating on all of them. I had to get in last minute here to join you in the commentary box here, Nolan. But I'll be in the producer's chair. And I think the racing's just going to get better and better from this point, because a lot of drivers will start to really get to grips with the car. Of course, this is the first week of official competition in this car. Of course, some drivers are going to have rough edges, and that is completely understandable. But as soon as people start to master this car, then that's going to be a different level of racing.
Absolutely. And no doubt we can't wait to see exactly what we're going to be seeing at that top level of racing either. I do believe that is just about all the time we are going to have for today. Next race, of course, is going to be on December the 25th. Good old Christmas Day at the Silverstone circuit over in the United Kingdom. I have been Nolan Rempel, bringing you coverage from start to finish for tonight with Connor and Matic both behind the cameras and beside me in the commentary box today. Special thanks to Itzvan Below at trackcams22.com for giving us the wonderful cameras that you are seeing all across the broadcast today. We thank you so much for joining us for yet another presentation of Friday Night Primetime here on RaceSpotTV. We will see you all next week.